In the Spotlight. From Stuff That Scares Your Pants Off. Informational text by Glenn Murphy. The fear. Some of us are fine with the idea of standing in front of huge crowds of people, but others would happily bungee off a 200-foot bridge or dive into a shoal of circling sharks rather than experience the sheer terror of facing an audience. Shoved out on stage or to the front of a class, people like this will quite literally lose their voice. The mouth may open, but the words won't come out. They just stand there gaping like helpless goldfish pulled out of water, their weak limbs quaking with fear, feeling like they want to run, hide, or cry. If that sounds like you, then you are one of the world's many, many sufferers of glossophobia, the fear of speaking, or trying to speak, in public. The reality. Glossophobia is amazingly common. There are usually at least 4 or 5 kids in every grade who have it. And it's very common in adults too, because you generally don't grow out of glossophobia. It takes help or practice to get over it. This is because it's basically a type of social phobia, a fear of being watched, judged, or sized up by other people, especially strangers, and especially large numbers of them. So where does it come from? And what use is it? I mean, if fear of the dark, heights, and dangerous animals helped keep our ancestors from being ambushed, what good is a fear of speaking to people? Wouldn't being able to speak to big groups have helped those early humans to communicate? The ones who are best at it, you'd think, could become chiefs, kings, and emperors. If speaking is that useful, what is this fear trying to protect us from? Being booed and pelted with rotten vegetables if we do badly? Well, the answer is nothing, really. There's no real danger involved in speaking to people. But the action of standing there and being watched can trigger a much older and more useful fear. The fear of being surrounded, threatened, and attacked by other people. Throughout the animal world, and especially in primates, the group that includes humans, gorillas, and chimpanzees, staring at someone is a signal of fighting or aggression. Even when we chat with people we trust and like, we don't stare them down while we talk. Instead, we shift the focus of our eyes around the other person's face, from their eyes to their mouth and nose and back again, and we glance away every so often during the conversation. If you don't believe me, try it with a friend. Sit close to each other and just stare while you talk, without looking away for 1 minute. You'll probably find you both start to feel really uncomfortable very quickly. All of this helps to break up the eye contact and reassures each person that the other is still friendly. Without it, a long burst of eye contact feels like the build-up to a fight. Now multiply that one staring pair of eyes by 30, and you have some idea of why standing up to speak in front of a class can feel so unnerving. Multiply it by 500 or 1,000, and you see why it takes a lot of confidence to be on stage in a packed theater. Even though the audience is probably friendly, the sensation is like being surrounded by an angry tribe, and all your brain wants to do is get you out of there. So that's what it prepares you to do. The fight or flight system kicks in, making your heart rate increase, your breathing tight and rapid, your muscles tense, and your guts feel queasy, as blood is directed away from them. The whole time you're trying to speak or perform, your brain is saying, "Okay, any minute now, we make a run for it, right? Get ready, ready, ready." For some people, this feels quite thrilling. But for glossophobics, it's absolutely terrifying. But if you think about it, there really is nothing to be afraid of this time. Unlike the fear of water, heights, and the dark, there's no real danger present at all. Even if you speak or perform really badly, it's not like the audience is going to kill you. The worst response you'll get is silence, booing, or rotten fruit and veggies. None of these are pleasant, but none of them can actually harm you either. Happily, this also makes glossophobia a perfect example of a fear you can beat with simple practice. Since there's no real danger, it's much easier to work up from speaking to 1, to 2, to 10, to 30 people. Believe it or not, you can go from stage phobic to star performer in no time. The chances. The odds of being killed by a classroom or theater full of people just because you're speaking to or performing for them? 0. Unless you're really, really bad. No, really. It's 0. Just kidding. There are lots of ways of working through your fears and building your confidence before audiences. The most direct and powerful way is to join a school, church, or community speaking group, where you can be coached on how to give speeches. At first, you may practice alone with 1 or 2 people. Then, as you get more confident, you can work up to larger and larger groups, until before you know it, you're speaking to whole school assemblies, church congregations, or community groups. The best thing is that in many cases, you get to talk about whatever you want, whether it's 10 ways to make a better world or my love of dinosaurs. If that doesn't sound like any kind of fun, then you can get experience with speaking in front of audiences without speaking directly to them. In acting or debating clubs, you can practice talking to small groups of people while being watched by an audience, but without having to look straight at them. Plus, the act of concentrating on your lines or on the argument will help distract you from the many watching eyes. When you get really good at it, you might even forget the audience is there. And if you really can't imagine speaking in front of crowds at all, then you can work up to it. Or, at the very least, gain a lot more confidence by trying other types of performance instead. Ever wanted to dance? How about play guitar or sing? Learning a performing art of any kind will help you get over your fears of an audience if you eventually take it to the stage. So, if you're one of the world's many performophobes, don't worry. The treatment for it may turn out to be the most fun you've ever had. The prescription looks like this. Take a handful of guitar, acting, or dance lessons. Rock a room full of people with your mad new skills. And call me in the morning.